This small country in between China and Japan is Korea, where my parents came from. In Seoul, the capital of South Korea, the streets are flooded with tourists and locals who enjoy shopping and eating the famous street food. Korean dramas and K-pop are enjoyed all over the world. Popularity of Korean culture and freedoms Koreans enjoy today seem to make oblivious the corruption and brutality of the Korean government of the recent past. However, that was Korea just less than 50 years ago, and it was the assassination of South Korean President Park Chung-hee that started that shift in the government. At the beginning of modern-day South Korea, the presidents were dictators. Authority was valued above all else. Park Chung-hee, born on November 14, 1917, came into power through a coup d'etat to become the third president of South Korea and became arguably the most significant person in shaping modern Korea. His governance consisted of strict economic plans and violent dealings against political opposition that shaped his character as a nationalist. In addition, there were two main ideologies that made up his authoritarian rule. One was Shin Chae-ho and Cho Nam-sun's interpretation of the Tengen creation myth, which was a major cause of his arrogance and belief that Koreans were entitled to be the best. The other was Bushido, a code of honor and morals that Japanese samurais followed. The South Korean economy was growing, and although this secured a high level of support for Park's presidency in the beginning of his term, that support began to disappear after economic growth started to wane and then decline in the early 1970s. These demonstrations pinnacled on October 16, 1979, when a student group protest calling for the end of dictatorship began at Busan National University. On October 26, 1979, 6 days after the student protests ended, Park sat down with Kim Jae-gyu, a close friend and director of the KCIA, the Korean Central Intelligence Agency, for what would become his last dinner. As their conversation progressed, Park questioned Kim as to why he did not try to subdue the demonstrations, and even claimed that if another riot broke out, he would shoot the crowd since it was too chaotic to control them. This comment angered Kim, who left the room and later came back to assassinate Park Chung-hee and his bodyguard as well. Albeit much turbulence, the Korean government survived and slowly went through positive change after Park Chung-hee's assassination. During Park's regime, bribery between major companies and the government was commonplace. One of the companies who received favor from Park was Daewoo. At the time, Daewoo was the second largest conglomerate in Korea after the Hyundai Group. One of Daewoo Motors' executives was my paternal grandfather. A few months before the assassination of Park Chung-hee, my grandfather was given a sabbatical by Daewoo. He, along with his family, were sent to Boston, USA, so that he could attend Harvard Business School to further learn about business management. Although he was aware of the corruption in his company, my grandfather succumbed to his superiors and carried out what was asked of him. He was not empowered to shift their business practices and instead worked loyally for the company. However, after Park Chung-hee was assassinated, due to the lack of favoritism from the president, Daewoo could not keep afloat. Because of their financial difficulties, Daewoo fired my grandfather. And due to his familiarity with the city, my grandfather decided to settle in Boston. Facing difficulty in obtaining a new job, he started a business to import auto parts from South Korea. Just as would have it, Daewoo went bankrupt by $50 billion and closed on November 1st, 1999. Yet, through all of this, on one fateful day, my parents met. And on March 23rd, 2005, I was born. And then my twin brothers came following soon after me. And so this is my family.